At Wind River Resort and Casino, we like to celebrate life's little moments. Oh, and the big ones too, because around here, when you're completely in the moment, that's when the magic happens. Come in and find your moment at Wind River Resort and Casino.
Good morning, everyone. I'm meteorologist Mike Krueger, having my cup of coffee here this morning. Hope you're having a good start to your day. It's a wet start to the day in the valley. Look how it's just kind of like right in the valley, right? And some of the surrounding foothills. We're seeing a little bit in Trinity County near Hayfork. And of course, late last night, it did kind of spread outwards into some of the mountains with some snow. Did see some reports of snow down to as low as 4,500 feet. I know Chester, Westwood, got to see a little bit of snow. I got several reports of snow around 5,000 feet as expected. And we can see most of the rain right now. And again, some moderate rain coming out of this. So you're probably hearing that pitter patter on the roof with some of that heavier rainfall coming down in parts of the valley. And if you look closely, look off over the ocean, the bottom left portion of your screen. I believe I saw a lightning strike in there. There was a lightning strike earlier, not necessarily the case now. I think it was actually yesterday evening. But we can't rule out a thunderstorm, by the way, for parts of the valley. Take a look at some of the rainfall totals. You can see already 0.38 in Redding, 0.60 in Corning, 0.26 in Chico. So we're already seeing some of these decent rainfall amounts, and we've got more on top of that as we take you into the morning and through the afternoon. Not nearly as much surrounding it, though. Take a look at some of the chain requirements. Cedar Pass, Highway 44, near Lassen Park, near Chester on Highway 36, and near Susanville on Highway 36. And then to the south, we're seeing chain requirements near the Tahoe region. All right. There's a look at the road. Look at Cedar Pass. We got snow up there. It looks a little icy up top there, too. Hatchet Mountain looks kind of a little bit of a wintry mix, but mainly in the form of rain. Lassen Park, it looks like we're seeing some snow on the side there. Bogard Ranger Station, no surprises. That's at about 5,600 feet. Shingletown, yeah, in the form of rain. No surprises there either. But look at Chester. I mean, this the image that you see there on the left, that's not too far from Chester. So you can see just that light snow that they did see yesterday and last night. Johnson Grade, seeing a little bit of snow up there. For down your summit, look at that. We're seeing snow up there as well. That's closer to Susanville. We take you out to Highway 36 and 44 intersection. Snow. Don't see it on Town Hill. Don't see it in Susanville itself. But of course, now you're getting into those below 5,000 foot range, and we're seeing less and less of that. So again, a lot of chain requirements as you head closer to the Tahoe region. So be prepared for that. Now, a lot of these chain requirements are for big rigs, so just note, but it's still going to be one of those situations where you're going to want to just keep a close eye on those road conditions if you are going to be traveling in the mountains today. And then, of course, things changing over the next few days before some bigger changes by next weekend and really going into next week. But we'll get into that a little bit later. There you can see the wet conditions we have across the board in the valley. There's a look at Main Street, Chico. We're looking at some wet conditions there this morning. We've got the wet conditions out towards Sundial Bridge Drive on Highway 44. Looking at the wet roads, give yourself a little bit of extra time this morning. The roads are wet and slick. There you can see Soda Ridge. Looks like just kind of some of the clouds that we are seeing there as well. All right, let's get you into your Krueger's Quickcast. Before we do that, let's check in with some of you this morning. We've got Jackie Dixon. Looks like you got a new profile picture. It looks nice. She said we had a few sprinkles yesterday evening, so that doesn't surprise me. You didn't see much in the way of rain. We got Lisa Stevens. Haven't heard from you in a while. Welcome back. Happy Wednesday. Nice and rainy, North Reading. Have a great day and be safe driving in it. Yes, definitely give yourself some extra time. And Curtis Brown saying good morning. Yes, it's quite moderate rain and breezy too. Yeah, we're seeing some of those winds coming in a little bit from the southeast. And so let's get into that for your Krueger's Quickcast. So let's, for your Wednesday, February 11th, of course, for those of you new to this, Quickcast is just a quick look at the forecast for the day. and you're good to go. Temperature is around 50, so pretty mild in the valley this morning, but colder in the mountains, 20s and 30s, low to mid 40s for the coast. Now out the door this morning, wet in the valley. Now you saw the radar, most of the rain was in the valley into the surrounding foothills. We're seeing a little bit in Trinity County. I think southern Siskiyou County around Mount Shasta City, yes, maybe a little bit of rain. And in the eastern mountains, we're seeing kind of that rain-snow mix. Now the area of low pressure that brought us eventually the rain yesterday is still over us, but it will be moving out. And as it does that, high pressure will build in behind it, and that's going to mean drier and warmer conditions. But in the meantime, we still got some of that wet weather. Looking at the HRRR forecast model for today, there it is, right? It just doesn't change much. That flow continues to come in from the south. And most of that rain is going to be pushing through the valley, but some of the surrounding mountains will see some activity. And the south portion of Humboldt County has the best chance for rain. The farther north you go in northern Humboldt into Delaware County, the slimmer the chances you'll see any wet weather. But we can't rule out a stray shower or a sprinkle for all of the north coast. It's just not going to be much. Then by tomorrow morning, it's all pretty much done and over with, and we will start to dry things out. Now, as Curtis had mentioned, it is a little breezy out there, and we're going to be looking at those winds probably a little breezy even as we go into the afternoon. Generally coming in from the south, southeast, at about 15 to maybe a little over 20 miles per hour in the valley. And then the wind should subside as we go into this evening, and especially for tonight and tomorrow morning. Okay, so here you go. Take a look at the snow forecast totals. Well, not very much, is there? Oh, we did see a little bit of snow out at the ski park yesterday. We'll probably see a little bit more today. Nothing for them to reopen the park at this point, but hang tight, my friends, because by the time we get into Sunday and especially early next week, we've got the potential for some good snowstorms that are going to bring some good snow even down to some of the lower elevations as well. So hang tight. We'll keep watching it closely. But in the meantime, after today, we're really drying things out for a few days. We're actually going to kind of revisit what we've been experiencing over the last several weeks and get more of a spring-like pattern with drier and warmer conditions, especially your Thursday, Friday. But Saturday's the transition day. Even though it'll be dry on Saturday, it'll be cooler, more clouds, and then more chances for rain coming in Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday. So for today, yeah, showers, maybe an isolated thunderstorm for parts of the valley, but basically what you're seeing this morning is what we'll probably see through the rest of the day. Off and on showers, brief periods of moderate to heavy rainfall, maybe a little breezy, and then you head outside of the perimeter of the valley, chances for rain and even that mountain snow are going to be less, and especially for the north coast, and especially for northern Humboldt and Del Norte counties and western Siskiyou County. All right, so for tonight, we're talking temperatures in the mid to upper 40s for the higher elevations, 20s and 30s. Now, keep in mind, you look at that, you look at all the snow we're going to see. Well, no, because by the time we get into the overnight and early morning hours, most of the rain and snow is out of here. So we'll be clearing things out a little bit here, and that's going to allow us to cool off a little bit here. And looks like the low 40s for the coast. Okay. Here we can take a look at that 7-day forecast, and we're dry Thursday, Friday, Saturday. And look at the temperatures too. You know, and I'm being conservative with these numbers. We could get into the upper 60s by Friday, and then Saturday is the transition day. We start to cool things off in more wet weather, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. And now, taking a look at the snow levels. 4,000 feet Sunday initially, then colder air, a colder storm system moves in Monday, Tuesday, 2,500 feet. I think Weaverville, Hayfork have the potential to see some snow early to middle part of next week. All right, so for Siskiyou, dry Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Snow levels 4,000 feet, eventually 3,000 feet. So Mount Shasta City, I think you'll see some snow by Monday, Tuesday. And that, of course, means plenty of snow for the ski park. Alturas, I think you'll see snow on Sunday, possibly, and then better chances coming in on Monday, Tuesday. And now for the Eastern Mountains, I was thinking maybe dry through Sunday, but now it looks like we could see that move in on Sunday. And then, of course, those lower snow levels too. All right, let's take a look at some of the cameras out there this morning. Looks a little blurry, Lake Oroville, but we are seeing some wet weather out there. There's a look at Main Street Chico on Highway 32. Wet roads, just played a little extra safe out there. We've got Red Bluff. You see some of the wet roads that we're seeing out there as well. It's going to be wet all up and down the valley along I-5, Highway 99, right? So there you can see Highway 44 at Sundial Bridge Drive, right? In Redding, wet, as expected. That is an old image. Looks like that camera froze up, so that's no good for this morning at least. Bald Hill West, you know, we can take a look at this camera though. This is looking out at Trinidad. Look at that. Things have actually cleared out and dried out. So as Jackie was saying, had a few sprinkles yesterday evening, but now it's fairly dry out in Trinidad this morning. And that's pretty much up and down the coast. You're not seeing much in the way of rain at all this morning. In fact, you can see some of those clearing skies that we have out there. Can't really see much here from Bald Hill West, but we do have, well, it looks like the camera was just in transition to moving when it took its snapshot here, so that's not a very effective image now, is it? Take a look at Fort Jones, kind of a little bit of patchy fog, low clouds in there, but you're going to be looking at the potential for some showers. But the thing is, western Siskiyou County is going to have a harder time getting in on this rain too. So the farther north and west you go, the valley, the slimmer the chances you're going to see any rainfall. But look at this. Now, if you recall, and this is, we'll kind of use this as a gauge to see some of the snow. Number one, we're seeing more snow on the trees. So that's a sign of some of the recent snow that we've seen. But if you look kind of in the center of your screen, you see a little dot, a little speck. And I'll see if I can put my cursor there. You see right here, yesterday it was a little bit more visible. It looked like the top of a bush or a tree or something. It's getting covered up more and more. And I would anticipate that by today, tomorrow, that'll be gone. We'll see. I don't think we're going to see a ton of snow up here, but 6,700 feet certainly could pick up at least a couple more inches of snow. So that'll be interesting to see what happens with that. All right, today is Wednesday. Every other week we have a Grange Co-op Spotlight. And this week we're going to talk about a sale that they have at the Grange Co-op. It's a gardening sale. For those of you that are into gardening, some exciting also announcement from Grange Co-op. Hello everyone, I'm meteorologist Mike Krueger from Weather NorCal. You're watching Grange Co-op Spotlight. We've got Karen from Grange Co-op here, and you're going to tell us about this great sale you guys have going on.
We have an early in the garden ad starting today, February 11th, running through the 22nd, and we have a lot of items that'll help get your garden ready. We have bare root trees, we have some soil amendments, things that'll help you get your garden ready.
So behind us here, we've got a lot of great things. Are these things you can plant all year round? How does all that work? You've got, I mean, a lot of things.
Yes, we have a lot of seeds. Some of the seeds, they'll tell you on the packet what to do best. Sometimes it's best to start them indoors when it's still cold outside because you don't want them to freeze. Mm-hmm. They are susceptible to freeze. So then you would transplant them as the weather gets warmer.
Well, of course, it was warm the last several weeks.
Yes.
Back to that. Also, over here, we talked about this last time, but you're kind of in the finishing phases here, right, of this new...
Yes, our nursery should be open by the end of the month. So we will have lots of plants, lots of trees, everything anybody needs for their garden and their yard.
This is absolutely exciting. So come on out here to Grange Co-op, and they will take care of you. That has been another edition of your Grange Co-op Spotlight. All right, once again, I want to thank Grange Co-op for their sponsorship, and you know, always great stuff. And I'm hoping to kind of continue this segment here and maybe get some more gardening tips for you here in the future. So be sure to check out their store. They got a lot of great things, not just the gardening, but all kinds of other great things as well. All right, we're going to get into our forecast here. But first, let's take a look at what some of you all are saying here this morning. We have got Barry. She's saying good morning. We've also got Jerry, who is saying good morning, and he's flexing his muscle a little bit here. He says, we haven't gotten enough water this year for farming. We are zero allocation for our area. Total bummer. Of course, he's talking about Tule Lake, and we've got Edeline Swafford. And it looks like she's saying, okay, Mike, I'm up, got coffee in hand, and I can tell you it's pouring rain here in Redding, California right now. It's 6:39 a.m. Yeah, not surprised. Not surprised at all. We're going to take a look at the radar here, Adeline, and Adeline, and confirm just what you are saying. Again, you're going to be dealing with some of these, if you want to call them downpours, but it's going to be heavier rainfall than we've seen, and it's, you know, it just depends on where you are, and then that's what's going to make it tricky as far as when we're forecasting rainfall estimates, because It depends on who sees these heavier downpours, because not everyone, like right now, you say it's raining heavily. It's not so much over my house. I can hear it on the roof, but that's about it. All right, let's get into our forecast. But before we do that, of course, I want to mention our sponsor of Coffee with Krueger, and that would be at Wind River Resort and Casino. Enjoy friendly service, a wide variety of specials and promotions, plus all of your favorite slots and table games. All right, so let's get right into our deeper dive forecast. But first, we take a look at our weather headlines. Showers continue for most of Northern California today. And really where we're going to see most of the rain will be in the valley. As you start getting outside of the perimeter of the valley, we're going to see less and less rain and snow, and especially off over the north coast. But the north coast will still see a few sprinkles and light showers. Dry and warmer for your Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. So it looks like your Valentine's Day will be dry. But more rain, more mountain snow as early as Sunday. But next week, early next week, that's the time frame I'm watching closely. Because now we're looking at lower snow levels that will impact your mountain travel. All right, so the deep dive forecast, we're going to dive into all of that. What our chances for rain look like for the rest of the week, when we start to see more of that rain move in, and what our snow is looking like, and even for the Mount Shasta Ski Park in our deeper dive forecast, which is sponsored by Shasta Hearing Aids.
Hearing loss can creep in little by little until one day you realize something's been missing. It's not about things being louder, it's about the moments that slip by. The joke you didn't quite catch, the quiet I love you, or the conversations with your kids that deserve the full attention. At Shasta Hearing Aids here in Redding, we believe hearing aid care should feel personal. Through compassionate care, a comprehensive hearing aid screening, and technology tailored to your lifestyle, we help you reconnect to what matters most. Schedule your free hearing aid evaluation today.
All right, take a look at the radar here this morning. All right, so Edeline, yes, there's your confirmation. Let me go ahead and turn that off here for a second here. There you go. There's that wet weather. And really what you'll notice is the bulk of the rain this morning has been in the valley. There's been some heavier rainfall. So what we're seeing right now in the Redding area came from the south and it's working its way northward. You see a little bit of drier slot here, but that's just going to be the trend that we're seeing today. It's going to be off and on throughout the day. Light to moderate rainfall, and there may be some brief periods of some of that moderate to even heavy rainfall that some of you are experiencing probably even right now. We also can't rule out a stray thunderstorm as we go through the morning and afternoon as well. But take note where most of the rain is, at least right now. It's in the valley, surrounding foothills, even Trinity County. Looks like Hayfork, Weaverville, seeing some of that light rain right now. But dry pretty much everywhere else, at least for now. But I do expect this to kind of expand, and we will see those scattered showers, maybe some snow flurries in the mountains. But I will say this, I think most of the drier air or drier weather will be in western Siskiyou, Del Norte, and northern Humboldt. You head south and, we're seeing some of those showers. And we did see some last night, even out towards near the Crescent City area as well. So looking at the rainfall totals as the last 24 hours, over a half an inch, especially kind of in the core of the valley here. You kind of get in the outer perimeters, not as much. But still, some pretty impressive amounts of rainfall. And, the estimates are still kind of on par. You may recall yesterday talking about, upwards of a half an inch to an inch in the valley. I was kind of maybe saying it was overestimating it, but with already what we're seeing, and on top of what we're going to see today, I think some areas could see about an inch of rainfall, all right, in the valley in particular. But we haven't seen as much off on the perimeter. And Crescent City hasn't have any reports of any rain, but you head north into Smith River, there was a little bit of rain there that was reported. 700s out in Redway and only about 400s out in Eureka, although it depends on where you are in Eureka too. Right now about 50 in the valley, 20s, 30s for the higher elevations, and looks like in the mid 40s right now for the coast. So there's the area of low pressure, the storm system. It's a little cold, right? We've got snow levels. I've seen the lowest at about 4,500 feet. I believe it was Chester, Westwood. Got a report of Chester and Westwood in Plumas counties that did see a little bit of snow. Just a dusting. It wasn't a big deal. Kind of a wet snow. This is going to be moving out. So as it moves out later this afternoon, evening, we're going to see things begin to dry out, especially by by tonight into tomorrow morning. This right here, this is just diving southward to just kind of move on out. But this is just going to be basically dissipating as it moves eastward. And then we're going to see high pressure build in for the next couple of days. So let's take a look at the overall trend to start things off so you have an idea as we go into this weekend and next week. Low pressure, that's what's bringing us the rain today. See how it just dissipates? And then high pressure builds in for your Thursday, Friday. That's going to give us warmer temperatures. I'm expecting maybe some mid to upper 60s in the valley. But we've got a lot more activity coming from the Pacific, and that's going to just nudge that high pressure eastward. So it's not going to be a persistent ridge. It will break away and move on off to the east. There's that ridge, right? You see how now it's off to our east, and that's allowing these storms to move on in. Now, the first one coming in on Sunday, it's a cold storm. It's originating from the Gulf of Alaska, but it's kind of working its way down, and the temperatures will moderate a bit as it taps into some of that warmer subtropical moisture. So snow levels will probably be around 4,000 to 5,000 feet on Sunday. And then this right here is some colder air. That's all going to swing on in. Now we're starting to see snow levels begin to plummet. We're talking about 2,500 feet on average, give or take, for Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, and it could be locally lower in some cases. This is going to have an impact on your mountain travel as we go into Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday in particular. We've already seen, with snow levels as low as 4,500 feet yesterday and of course today, some of those chain requirements that we are seeing, mainly for big rigs, for Cedar Pass, some of the higher elevations east of I-5, right? Pretty typical, especially with that high elevation snow. And of course, Tahoe being impacted by that. So you can bet that it's going to be a bigger impact because now, as we go to Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday of next week, with snow levels down to about 2,500 feet or so, now it's impacting areas west of I-5, Trinity County, Highway 299, Buckhorn Summit, Oregon Mountain, right? Of course, also out towards Scott Mountain Pass. So that's what we've got going on. That's what we're going to have to keep an eye on here if you do have mountain travel plans. All right. And then we go into when, this is toward the end of next week. Then we got more. It looks like another ridge trying to build in, but we got more activity coming in. So even as we go to the end of next week, we've got more wet weather entering the picture. All right. So now let's take a look at the shorter range. Here's today. All right. We're just going to take it through the day. You see how it just continues to feed? It just continues to feed in from the south. And that's going to bring us more scattered showers, heavier downpours at times, maybe an isolated thunderstorm. We may see some of that activity kind of work its way. So what's going to happen is the flow around that, it moves off to the west, and we see it kind of break apart before it does reach the coast. But the coast could see a stray sprinkle or a light shower through the day today. And then it looks like maybe some better chances out towards Modoc, Lassen, and Plumas counties. And for Siskiyou County, you'll be looking at some of the showers, especially to the south, but chances diminish out towards western Siskiyou County today. Then by tonight, by tomorrow morning, we're dry. We'll keep it dry. Thursday, we'll keep it dry for your Friday. Clearing skies, still some fog along the coast, more sunshine, warmer temperatures for your Friday. Then we take you into Saturday. Now, Saturday is going to be a dry day. We'll probably see a bit of a transition day where we're going to be looking at increasing clouds, cooler temperatures, and then eventually we're going to watch this move closer. Now, we are seeing some activity trying to develop here Saturday night east of the valley. That's a little bit of a disturbance kind of rotating around the main area of low pressure itself, but the main impact is going to be here as we go into your Sunday. So rainfall estimates, again, we're talking about on top of what we've already seen. So you saw the totals, right? What we've seen so far. This that you're seeing here is on top of that. So once all is said and done, we're talking about 3/4 to maybe an inch in some spots for the valley. And then clearly not as much off to the, I think you remember what I was talking about. As you start getting outside of the perimeter of the valley, we see less and less in the way of that rainfall. And I mean, it's not even really picking up on anything for places like Crescent City and Eureka. Now, again, you'll see a trace, maybe a few hundreds here and there, not out of the question. Still have the winter weather advisory until 4 o'clock today. Elevations above 5,000 feet. That's the main impact there, but not a huge impact, right? Because we take a look at the amount of snow that we're expecting to see. Trace amounts to maybe upwards of 2 to 4 inches of snow. But again, you have to go above 5,000 feet before it turns into anything even close to becoming significant. But even so, that right there, kind of a higher peak, that's about 4 to 6 inches of snow. So again, not a big deal, right? Now, taking a look at the Sierra, not a big deal here either, but there are already plenty of chain requirements. So any snow on top of that could create a few problems. So chain requirements are probably going to continue to be a factor. However, conditions should improve as we go into the day. In fact, you can see here by around midday, conditions are improving, but we may see conditions get a little bit worse as we go into this evening and tonight. But again, by tomorrow, this is all pretty much out of here and conditions should improve. So again, yeah, we're dealing with some cooler air with this system, but it has tapped into some of that warmer subtropical moisture, so it kind of moderates the temperatures a bit, and that's what kept our snow levels around 4,500 to 5,000 feet. Now, as that moves out, we've got high pressure moving in. That's going to warm us up for Thursday, Friday. As I mentioned, for the valley, especially around Redding, we could see temperatures upwards of mid to even upper 60s. But this is cold air. This is even colder air coming in from the Gulf of Alaska. So you see how it kind of dives down to the south. Saturday, we're still dry, but we're nudging that ridge off to the east. That's opening the storm door. That will allow this colder and more unstable air to move on in, and that's when we start to see those snow levels begin to plummet. See another little reinforcing surge of colder air that's just kind of feeding this cold trough of low pressure. So we've got the cold air in place. This right here is known as the area where we have the most amount of instability. That's going to be over us. That is what's going to draw out any rain for the valley and snow in the mountains. And as I mentioned, with this colder air moving in, this is really going to lower those snow levels. And then it looks like another shot of colder air coming in near the end of next week, keeping those snow levels fairly low. So the Climate Prediction Center does have us in the wetter than normal category. That's no big surprise. You saw that on Futurecast. And, you know, the lake levels are still looking very healthy here, still well over 100% in most cases for that historical average. And we'll probably be adding more to that here with some of the rain that we do see. But there you can see the cooler than normal conditions are also being projected by the Climate Prediction Center. No surprises there either because, again, minus a little warm-up we have tomorrow and Friday, we're dropping those temperatures down into the low 50s by Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. Wave heights are going to be fairly low today. Now you'll notice as we go into the second half of the day on Thursday, it's showing signs of kind of nudging a little bit higher. We'll have to watch that, but for now, there are no small craft advisories. Winds are fairly calm from the north at about 5 to 10 knots. Just maybe a chance for a few scattered showers out there. All right, here's your neighborhood forecast, sponsored in part by Dignity Health. You got those temperatures up 40s, low 50s, dry for Thursday, Friday, Saturday. And look at those snow levels beginning to drop. I think Weaverville, Hayfork, not out of the question for you to see some snow by early next week. We'll see. You can see the north coast, not very wet for you today, but you could see a stray shower, stray sprinkle throughout the morning and afternoon. Otherwise, you're dry Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and then more wet weather coming in Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday. Siskiyou County, places like Happy Camp, Scott Valley, most likely staying fairly dry. If you see a passing sprinkle, don't be surprised. I think where we're going to see the bulk of any rain will be in south central Siskiyou County. Head northward into places like Hornbrook, Doris, McDowell, Tennant. You're most likely going to just see a few sprinkles, as well as places like Tule Lake. 46 in Fort Bidwell, 41 in Cedarville, and 48 degrees in Aden. The eastern mountains, you're going to be looking at off and on scattered showers. Snow between 4,500 and 5,000 feet. For the valley, we've got those temperatures upper 50s. Rain off and on, periods of heavy rainfall, and maybe brief periods of heavy rainfall, but not for everybody. And maybe even an isolated thunderstorm. Otherwise, we're dry for Thursday, Friday, and your Valentine's Day. But looks like for your President's Day weekend, many of you have the day off on Monday. Some of you actually have all of next week. You know, I remember when I was a kid, President's Day was just a weekend. You got Monday off. But now they get the whole week off. How cool is that? All right, take a look at the forecast at the north end of the valley. There's your 7-day forecast. And again, we're dry Thursday, Friday, Saturday. And then Sunday, you got the rain. Monday, President's Day, you got more rain. Tuesday, you got more rain. And hey, if we were to extend this into Wednesday, Thursday, Friday of next week, more wet weather is in the forecast. So there you go. Forecast. There it is. Right here in Weather NorCal. All right, looks like a little active here since I've been gone, since haven't been checking it. Shelley is saying, good morning, Mike. Little drizzle and rain right now in Weaverville. And yeah, we of course saw that on the radar. It was showing it just kind of working its way into Weaverville. So thank you, Shelley, for that report. And we've got Leah saying, yay, snow. Obviously a snow person or snow fan based on your image there. We've got Sarah, looks like she's asking, will Hayfork get snow this week? Not this week. Not guaranteed for next week, but we're seeing potential for much lower snow levels by, especially as we go into Tuesday, Wednesday, some surges of cold air beginning to move in. I would say your best chances for snow, based off of the latest data coming in right now, around Tuesday, Wednesday of next week, I think Hayfork, you might get to see a little bit of snow. We'll keep watching it very closely and keep you informed. Keep in mind, I mean, sometimes with snow, it's really not until 12 to 24 hours that can really hone in on what's going on with that snow. But, you know, you can usually get an idea long range, and then as you get closer to it, you can really start honing in on a lot of those details. All right, well, that's going to do it for us this morning. How's everybody doing this morning? It was a busy day for me yesterday. I had a lot going on. And I've got a few things going on today as well, but I'm certainly looking forward to getting closer to the weekend and getting myself a little bit of a break. Oh, great news too. The results came out for states for snowboarding and skiing. And my son made it. Aiden made it. In fact, of our division, the North Division, he is the fourth ranked snowboarder in our division. So proud. He's doing such a great job. He works so hard to keep it going. We've got Jackie Dixon saying thank you. And of course, certainly always there for you guys. I'm glad to do that and be here for you, give you the latest forecast. In the meantime, we're going to leave you with a couple of cameras here coming in from Soda Ridge this morning. Look at that. You can see some of the snow. It looks like a little bit of a nice little sunrise coming in. We're going to wrap it up here, call it a morning, and we will see you again here tomorrow morning bright and early, starting at 6:30 on Coffee with Krueger. Have a great rest of your day.